The first piece, which is called CorUtero, which is CorUtero without a number, is over 20 odd years old. And then shortly after that, my son was born, and I left that sort of scene to the side. But there were obviously things that I was thinking about, no, in terms of stereotyping and how, we view parenting. And then it became real. Then it became real, as a single dad, it became very real. And art for me is the best way to process, to express, to understand, to give space to thoughts, happy thoughts, bad thoughts. Parenting is like the dance of life, really, And, so is art. I mean, sometimes you're working with something, you're working with a material, which is why I love to work with wood that has come, down the river, being bashed, smashed, broken, weathered into the sea. It's gone through its stuff, and then you get it, and there's a certain beauty in that suffering. And for me to polish that up. So there's also that sense of, you said you're of perfection, which is such a mystical thing. There's no such thing as perfection. And there's beauty in imperfection. And I think this work is a little bit like that. No? This work is a little bit, it has contrasts of the ceramic, which I did in Tangier. And a lot of the wood is also, from there, but a lot of it is also from Jim and Spain. So it's been a process of the first one over 20 years ago, and then the last lot, over 30 of them, in the last year.
Between creating that first piece 2 decades ago and completing the collection in this past year, Mark says that, as a single father, he has experienced the damaging impacts of negative stereotypes firsthand. Through his work and through dialogue, he seeks to dispel these myths and the insidious harm that they can cause.
I've also learned as a result of my work that the most important ingredient to raise, good kids that will become good adults is a nurturer. And the nurturer has no gender. There's no gender to nurturing. There's no gender. Of course, there is stigma attached to that too. Men cannot be gentle. Of course, men can be gentle in the same way that women can be powerful and strong. And we need to move away from that. I think I've tried to combine the stability of the wooden chunk of sort of tree that has gone through all sorts of processes. So there is that. That doesn't change. Even when you burn it, it just turns black and possibly a little bit more fragile, like humans, no? And then the ceramic, the way that it unfolds and the way that it sits on something that's much more stable. And in some of them, the branches that reach out. So it's, it's a dance. It's like a dance of life, and parenting is like that. The idea is to understand that as time goes on, you will be needed less in that physical sense. But your child, if you've done it right, will never forget what you have done, and will always need to know that you have been, to know that you are, to know that you still exist, and to know that that you really cared. And I think that is the role of parenting.